Number 10. The 10th most expensive and most recent item sold on this list is a pair of Michael Jordan shoes that sold for $190,000 in June 2017. I mean, they weren't even a pair of Jordans. They were a pair of Converses that he wore in the gold medal game of the 1984 Olympics. And that was before he ever played a game in the NBA. I mean, I'd much rather have like a Lamborghini or I don't know, a house. But I mean, I guess if you spend that much money on basketball, you probably got all those things already. Number 9. So in 2011, Dr. J had an online auction to get out of some debt where he sold off 144 of his prized possessions from his career. It was one of the biggest sports memorabilia auctions, and in total he got $3.5 million from it. But for number 9, he got $195,000 for his 1976 ABA ring that he won with the New York Nets. The ABA merged with the NBA the next year, so this was the last official year of ABA championship rings, which helped it get so much money, and due to the fact that a lot of NBA greats don't really auction off their championship rings because they don't really need the money. Number 8. A good portion of this list is Dr. J stuff since he had such a big auction. But number 8 is Dr. J's 1983 and 1984 All-Star rings. They both sold for $218,977 each. Now I didn't even know players got rings for the All-Star game, and it's a little surprising that they went for more money than his ABA championship ring. But I mean, they were from the NBA, so I guess it makes sense. And Dr. J was the 1983 All-Star game MVP, which also helps the price. Number 7. Is again, you guessed it, a Dr. J item. But there will be some other players' items in a minute. Dr. J's older 1978 All-Star ring sold in that auction for $238,853. I mean, it makes sense that it'd go for a little more because it's a little older, but you'd think that his 83 All-Star MVP year ring would go for more. Or even his actual 1977 All-Star Game MVP award that only sold for $168,000. I mean, these prices are a little all over the place, but oh well. Number 6. Okay, last Dr. J item before we get to someone else. In 1983, Dr. J won his only NBA championship with the 76ers, and that ring sold for $244,000. No other NBA legends have really sold their rings, so it makes sense that his would go for so much. And hopefully he wasn't just selling all of this stuff because he was in financial trouble, because I mean, to give away everything from your NBA career, that must suck. Number 5. In 1992, in Michael Jackson's Jam music video, he's shown playing basketball with Michael Jordan. The actual basketball they played with was signed by both MJs and sold for $294,000. That's a huge amount of money for some rubber and some air, but since it was played with by the two biggest Michael J's in the world, it's got some added value. But like, after you buy the ball, what do you do with it? You put it in a glass case and tell every single person that walks by about it. Number 4. The last item on this list from Dr. J's big auction was Julius Erving's first ever championship ring that sold for $460,000. It was his first ever ring and the New York Nets' first ever championship in 1974. That's just about as much as his 2 other championship rings combined, which is crazy because one was from the NBA and the other one was from the ABA. So I don't know what made this one worth so much more other than it being the first and the Nets' first. I mean, maybe that just drove up the price that much. Either way, $460,000 for a ring is pretty insane. Number 3. Metta World Peace's 2010 NBA Championship ring. Now I really don't get the prices of any of this stuff. His ring sold for $500,000. So Dr. J's first ring sells for a lot because it's old. Now Ron Artest's ring sells for more because it's new. I mean, I guess I can see how that sort of makes sense, and because it's a Lakers ring, and because all the money was donated to charity. But that's still pretty high for a ring. That's $500,000. I mean, if Artest's went for that much, just imagine how much Kobe's ring would go for. Number 2. Alright, so number 2 is pretty strange. Everyone's seen the final moments of Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls career. The Bulls down by 1. Michael Jordan has the ball. In the final seconds, he crosses over Brian Russell, pulls up, and hits the game-winning shot to win the 1998 Finals and close out his career on a second three-peat and winning his 6th straight NBA championship. So what item from this game would you guess would go on to be sold for $1 million? His shoes, the basketball, his autographed jersey? No. It was the floor. Yeah, the floor. The Upper Deck Trading Card Company bought the entire Utah Jazz floor of Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals. Now I didn't know trading card companies did this, but they do this quite often and sell pieces of the floor as a part of the card. It makes sense and probably made them a lot of money. It's just weird that the item from that game to be sold and to be the number 2 highest paid for a piece of basketball memorabilia was the Utah Jazz's floor. I mean, they could just sneak any piece of wood into that card and nobody would know. Number 1. The #1 most expensive basketball related item ever paid for was not Michael Jordan shoes, it wasn't anything game worn or by anyone ever in the NBA. It was the actual first set of basketball rules ever written in 1891 by Dr. James Naismith. I mean, that's crazy that they lasted over 100 years and are still in great shape. So it was bought for $4.3 million and then donated to Kansas University. Like, there's some insane stuff about this. First of all, it was bought for over $4 million and then just given away for free. The other insane thing about this auction was that a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation signed by Abraham Lincoln and was once owned by Robert F. Kennedy sold at the same auction for only $3.7 million. I mean, hey, I like basketball a lot more than American history, but a set of rules going for more than a piece of history signed and owned by 2 former presidents, that's a little weird.